Fight University podcast, episode 3. Recap of this last week in the UFC. Wanted to start out talking about the Demetrius Johnson and Dana White beef that's been going on in the news.
Yeah, that has been the talk of the town this past week or so. Demetrius coming out and basically saying that Dana's forcing fights on him and making him fight TJ Dillashaw instead of Ray Borg, I believe was the original fight they had set up. It's one of those things, man. It's the fight game, so they're always going to try and throw the biggest draw, I guess, especially in the WME era. They're really going for the biggest draw per se, as opposed to who really deserves the next title shot. I agree with DJ saying that TJ should come down and maybe have a fight at 25 and show that he can make the weight before he gets a title shot, because it's not like he's not the champion at 135. He's a former champion, which is great, but you're not the current champion. And it's I want to see it because I think as a fan, that thing would be a great fight.
I'd love to see the fight.
Yeah, great fight. But as far as is that the best move for DJ's career, I think he's really the only person that can really tell that.
Yeah, I just think Dana White's comments were kind of a little ridiculous, and he says he didn't threaten to close down the flyweight division, but then the same breath of air says that they've been talking about closing down the flyweight division for the last 3 years, which it's only been around for 5. So if you only gave it 2 years to try to gather some steam behind it,
not much time.
What kind of you didn't give a shit about that division at all. Then you didn't care to promote it really. That's really what it kind of comes down to.
Put it out there as a chance, and then when it didn't boom off like they thought it was going to, or maybe not thought, but maybe wishfully thought that it was going to take off, and it didn't, you're kind of like, screw it at this point.
Well, it just doesn't make sense to, even say that you've been talking about closing it down for 3 years. Like, it just kind of comes out of nowhere. But, think about if you're someone in the flyweight division, right now.
Getting shit on.
Yeah, you're worried about what? Are you going to have a job, in a couple months? Or are you going to be forced to go up and wait and fight guys that are a lot bigger than you? Or are you just going to get cut and have to go to another, organization?
You've got the largest fighting organization in the world at the moment saying that, your fights are boring. You can't put on good fights. Like, how would that make you feel? Yeah, just
saying that they can't sell flyweights, which, I just think they can't promote flyweights the right way.
Or haven't.
Flyweight fights are definitely some of the most entertaining ones. I know, to the casual, some people think, it's little guys, but they can totally sell it. You just got to promote it the right way. And like DJ's talked about, and some of his grievances on MMA Hour, how he had to do all his tons of his own promo and a lot of TV stuff that he shot and never even got aired. And where's the promo leading up to any of his fights? How you see it maybe a couple of days before, but you don't see a build up like the same way you would another major card. And it's funny that Dana White comes out in this recent interview and says that he thinks Conor's the pound for pound best champion, because he takes any fight on short notice, doesn't matter, blah blah blah. Well, 2 months ago, or whenever DJ fought last, he's over here saying in the post-fight press conference that he's arguably the greatest of all time, and that he's easily #1 pound for pound, and he just keeps on getting better, and blah blah blah. And so, which is it? So is he not the pound for pound? Is he garbage? And blah blah blah. He can't sell anything or whatever, or is he arguably the greatest of all time? I don't. It doesn't make sense. And why are you as a promoter trashing your own fighter? I don't. What do you get out of that? Yeah. What do you achieve out of that?
Drama.
This is just an ego thing, I guess, to Dana. But it doesn't make sense when he wants to come out and try to trash some of his own fighters. I get when some fighters, people get angry at their boss, get a little disgruntled. Like, what comes to mind is the Luke Rockhold situation. When you're talking about the state of the middleweight division and how it's BS and blah, blah, blah. And, Dana White came out and was kind of like, dude, you just got knocked the fuck out in, the first round. I don't know if he said knock the fuck out, but, he said, you just got knocked out in the first round, shut up and get back to work. But I'm like, dude, what are you? I mean, yeah, that's true. I get that. But, you know, you as a promoter, dude, you shouldn't be talking about your fighters like that. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, no, you definitely, because I mean, at the end of the day, those are the money makers. You know, Dana, you're not, you're behind the scenes and you're doing, you know, all the decision making, but you're not getting in the ring and sacrificing your body day in and day out and you're not who the people come to see. They don't come to see Dana White sit in the sidelines.
The UFC, you know, that's what they come to see. He wants it to be, and how it used to be in the past, and how it's getting away from. I feel like more now. Is more so, you know, which rightfully so, is that in the past it's always kind of been, it's the UFC show. You know, that's what you're selling. You're not selling necessarily the fighters. You're selling the UFC, the brand, the company. And
you remember 5 years ago when nobody called it MMA and it was just called the UFC?
People still do that.
You fight the UFC?
Still people do that. You know, tons of people will do that. You'll go and find, you guys go to a UFC gym. And they're not referring to like the franchise UFC gym. They're referring to a
martial arts gym in general.
Yeah, and you know that's when you talk about MMA, you talk about UFC. That's what it's known for, at least you know here in the United States, for sure. It's definitely just the biggest organization, so that's what people talk about.
Yeah, I feel like the fighters nowadays though are starting to supersede like your Rondas and your Connors and even your Nate and the Diaz brothers. Kind of they're superseding the name of the UFC. You know, as far as getting into the weed stuff and all that. I mean, you know, and there's other kids there, other fighters that are going to get in and do the same thing. They're going to so I think it is the end, or coming maybe to an end of the UFC era per se.
I don't know. We'll see. But I mean, with WME is changing, a lot of just how things are done. It's just, completely different from what it was in the Lorenzo, Dana times when
era.
Well, it was almost, back in the day, a lot of it was like, kind of like a family thing, the Fertitas and, those, infamous locker room bonuses and blah, blah. But, I don't think all those locker room bonuses are happening anymore. And people, a little more outspoken that they're losing money and that they're not making as much money as they were, sponsorships wise at least, and things like that. You got a lot of people willing to test out free agency now, and there's lots of organizations out there that have a lot more money too. I wouldn't say a lot more money, but have a lot of money too.
Bellator, I mean, they got the Viacom money.
Yeah, that's true.
As far as financially goes, that's probably. I mean, that's your next big. I mean, you got. Well, Kunlun is just more. Does Kunlun do? No, they just do Muay Thai.
But that's not
Rising.
Even the
that's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, and MMA. That's
there's
tons of
there's tons of Russian organizations too that are throwing big money at people. So there's there's options out there for people. But one thing I wanted to also discuss, what just happened last night, yesterday afternoon, I guess, was Glory 42.
Almost forgot. How did you forget this?
One thing I just wanted to touch on, kickboxing, switch it up a little bit from UFC talk. Glory 42, some awesome kickboxing fights that were going on. I believe it was in Paris. And the Myrtle Gronhart versus Grigoryan fight. Man,
that's a tongue twister.
Yeah, some tough names to pronounce, kind of. But Gronhart's a beast and landed a sick jumping knee in the second round. And Grigoryan turned around. It was really weird. He kind of just turned around low, head back to his corner or something. I don't know if he thought the round was over or if because he got a massive cut over his eye from the knee.
He thought the ref was paused it or something.
Well, I don't know what was going on. There's no standing 8 count. So, Gronhart came in and landed a vicious right hook and knocked him out cold. And, I mean, if any of you guys have watched the Floyd Mayweather versus Victor Ortiz fight, it was very similar to that almost where, where in that fight he got separated for a moment and, Mayweather just, the second the fight was about to start again, Ortiz didn't have his hands up and got knocked the fuck out real cold. Gronhart, came in with a hard right hook with, Grigoryan turned around and had his hands down and just got fucking laid out.
Laid out.
Yeah,
that is the best way to put it.
A lot of people, fans came in afterwards. There was like 2 guys that came in from the audience that ran in and actually sucker punched Gronhart and it just was chaos in the ring. There was
who is in this crowd that has the balls enough to run in the ring with a professional kickboxer and try and box them up like that. Those people are crazy.
Yeah, not very smart idea, but it was really wild. I mean, everyone should go check that out. It was on SportsCenter, all yesterday. On Saturday,
reruns like crazy on SportsCenter.
June 10th was the day that it took place. And, super sick knockout and then super wild finish when, these fans rushed in the ring and started throwing punches at Groenhart. It was insane. Go check that out. But the next thing we wanted to talk about was go on to the UFC Fight Night Lewis vs. Hunt card. That was last night, June the 10th.
Damn good card. Damn good card, especially for a free one.
Lots of finishes.
Yeah, lots of finishes. I was getting kind of scared watching the prelims, thinking everything was going to go to the decision.
The entire main card, except for one fight, was finished. It was awesome.
Yeah, and then the main card came around, and it was great. And even the fight that went to decision, I mean, it was a beatdown. The Alexander Volkanovski versus Mititsu Hirota is how you say it.
Mizuta?
I'm probably butchering that. I'm sorry, buddy. No, that was a great fight. I mean, Alexander, he dominated, I think all of the rounds were, I think it was unanimous. Yeah, 30-27 every round. He put the beat down on that boy, but I give it to Hirota for having an iron chin. Did you see that spinning back elbow that caught, I think that was the second
there was
round.
3 or 4 or something like that. There was a couple that landed real good.
Man, he landed that one. Had him up on
Volkanovski,
the cage.
Landed that on Hirota.
Landed the elbow clean when he was up on the cage and dropped him. And I thought it was over there. But, I mean, Hirota, that dude is a beast, man, because he did not go down. He took that shit like a champ.
There were some real good fights. John Moraga on the prelims looked real good. Unanimous decision, very unanimous. 30-25, 30-27, 30-27.
Yeah, that's a bad round there.
That's pretty wild. You never really see 2 10-8 rounds. So John Moraga really beat that ass, according to the one judge.
Right.
But it was a real good fight. I mean, he controlled most of it, definitely. Another good fight was Luke Jedi. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name.
Jume,
I guess. Versus Dominic Steele. That was a real good, competitive fight too.
Dude, Dominic Steele is jacked.
Dominic Steele looks like the dude from Key and Peele. I just want to throw that out there.
Crazy hair.
Go Google both of those dudes, and you will completely agree with me. They look identical. It's insane.
Yeah, that guy is a monster. But I thought, I really had my money on him. But Luke came in there slanging and banging, man. He really held his own.
Yeah, Luke's the town local. He's
last minute fight. That was the last minute guy too, right? I believe.
I don't remember. I don't know about all that. But the New Zealand, he was one of the local guys, and got a big push from the crowd. And looked real well, looked real good. His striking was real good, very accurate with his shots. Just kind of remain calm and try to pick Dominic Steele apart, and did pretty good when he kept it on his feet.
Yeah, he didn't get fooled by the feints. He sat back, was real patient, waited for his time, and landed good strikes.
The fight after that, what is it? Vinnick Pichel versus Damian Brown. Pichel from Hell was his nickname. He had that. Dude. He had it tattooed on the inside of his arms, "From Hell," in crazy big bold letters.
That zombie style lettering.
Yeah,
that dude's a monster.
It was a wild fight though. Very very early on. Brown came in pretty crazy, throwing big combos at him, not really moving his head a whole lot, and Pichel just timed him timed him as he came in. Had a short right hook, short right uppercut kind of from the body almost, right from the hip. It wasn't even that strong. He just kind of timed it real well as Brown was coming in, and went out cold.
Yeah, he just set that uppercut up right. He started southpaw, and then as soon as Brown started coming in, he took that lead step, switched stance, and came with that uppercut and just rocked his world.
Yeah, timed it perfectly. It was great. It was a good fight. Very good fight. Ended 3 minutes into the fight. So always entertaining when you get some quick first round knockouts.
Yeah, Vince Pichel is definitely not a guy I'd like to see in a dark alley.
Yeah. Awesome fight also that was on the card, on the main card. The first finish after the Alexander Volkanovski. Man, I can't talk today.
That is a mouthful.
After that fight was the Ben Wynn versus Tim Elliott fight.
Oh, Ben 10 Wynn.
Everyone was looking forward to that fight. Tim Elliott, comes to bring it. That fight when he had against DJ was insane. A lot of people expected, kind of counted him out of that, and he came to bring it.
He's just so interesting to watch. His style, that bobbing and weaving, moving back and forth.
Constantly moving.
And you never know what he's going to do. He's always sporadic. It's very interesting to watch.
Kind of strange.
Yeah, very hard to counter,
Right off the rip, though, Ben Nguyen, trains a lot with, what is it?
Tiger
Muay Thai. Yeah, his striking's real good. So, right off the rip, Elliott comes in and Ben lands a head kick, and I think it kind of rocked him a little bit. And, they clinch up, and I think Ben lands a knee right when he got him in the clinch, and I think it kind of rocked Tim Elliott a little bit. And, Tim Elliott goes for the head and arm choke, and it just doesn't end up.
He got reversed.
It doesn't end up in his favor. Yeah, the head and arm choke, a lot of times, it works very well in the women's divisions. As you see, Ronda Rousey used it. That was one of her main things, and she dominated the division with it for a long time. But it's very easily countered, and Ben Nguyen just countered it. Got his back real quick and took his back and sunk his hooks in. Man, I can't talk. And just finished him real quick. Got the rear naked choke, and about 48 seconds. What was it? Something like that in the first round.
Under a minute.
Yeah, so 49 seconds.
49 seconds.
Yeah, so very good fight. I did not see that coming.
Not at all.
Tim Elliott's a gangster, and for Ben to come in and do that at such a young age, he's such a young dude. He's what I think 25 or 28. There you go, 28.
Still young,
but very very young guy. He's got not a whole lot of experience. Very good record, though.
Yeah, you can just tell that he prepared very well for this fight. I mean, he knew that Tim was going to be doing that crazy bob and weave thing, and you can see that as soon as he saw him go to the side, he came up with that kick, and I mean, just caught him perfectly. And like you said, I think it rocked him, and that's what got him into the clinch, and then there on out.
Well, he always comes to bring it. Ben's, that's what's so fun about him, at least. Win or lose, he's always coming, and he's a big member of the Reddit MMA community as well. So shout out to Ben.
Woo-hoo!
But next fight was the Ion Kutilabe, however you pronounce his name, these crazy names.
Yeah.
Versus Henrique de Silva, and that was insane. Kutilabe came out with that JDS, how Junior Dos Santos comes out in the very beginning and walks to the center of the ring and slams his hand down like he's shit's about to go down. Kutilabe came out and did that right and walked all the way over real intense and did it right in front of Silva's face, and oh man, it was a little psycho almost. People were kind of like, what's going on here? But I mean, he knocked him out real quick in 22 seconds. It was a pretty wild fight.
Yeah, that knockout was absolutely insane. I just can't believe that fight ended so quickly. That guy. Then again, when you look at that Ion, how do you even say that? Kutalaba. When you look at that guy is, I mean, he's just crazy looking. You can tell in the look in his eyes that he is there to bring it, and it's going to take a wrecking ball to get him out, and he proved that last night, I guess, for sure.
Dan Hooker versus Ross Pearson was a real good fight as well.
The Hooker.
Ross Pearson looked really good, with a lot of head movement. He looked real sharp.
Super jacked, too. He looked jacked.
He's always big guy for the division. He's kind of, shorter, definitely versus Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker looked huge against him, 6 foot for lightweight, pretty big guy.
Long, lanky dude.
Real long and lanky. Like you said, just try to control the range, and occasionally got baited into a little bit of a brawl with Ross Pearson. You'd hear his coaches, tell him to get back and, keep your distance. He had a sick knee, though, timed it real well. It was kind of keeping trying to keep his range with his jab, trying to avoid all the head movement that Pearson was doing. Timed as he was bobbed and weaved in, and just landed a knee, just threw the knee up there real sharp and timed it perfectly and got, flattened Pearson right away, halfway into the second pretty much.
And not to mention that, Dan's jab was not working very well compared to Ross Pearson's jab. I mean, Ross Pearson's jab was tearing him up, but like I said, Dan just saw it, timed it. As soon as he saw Pearson was about to throw that jab again, he just leaned in with a knee and, I mean, just caught him right on the chin. It doesn't get any cleaner than that, really. Yeah,
he said that's something that they really worked on a lot in this camp, was to try to, time it as he was bobbing and weaving and get that knee up there. I mean, and geez, for a 6-foot lightweight, just threw that knee up there. It was no little effort. It was real sick. Very very nice highlight reel knockout for Dan Hooker.
Yes, get this guy let's get him a new video going.
Yeah. Let's see. Because Dan Hooker and Ben Wynn were the 2 performance of the night winners. The fight of the night was Mark Hunt versus Derek Lewis. So all those people got fight of the night, $50,000 bonuses. Derek Brunson versus Dan Kelly fight was next.
I can't believe that didn't get a performance of the night bonus. That was a beautiful knockout as well.
That ended real quick. Dan Kelly did not look very good at all. Derek Brunson came out, trying to, make amends, I guess, for the Anderson Silva and Robert Whitaker losses, his last 2 straight. Anderson Silva, I thought he actually won that fight in decision. I thought he got robbed, but
don't let it go to the judges.
It is what it is. But Dan Kelly came out real strong against him, and
got baited.
Yeah,
prime example. I mean, that Derek Brunson. That was so beautiful. He stuck the jab out there, waited for him to him to parry, and as soon as he stuck that arm out there all the way to parry, Brunson just came right over with that, or left hand. Sorry, he's a southpaw. He came over with that left hand, and it was lights out for Dan Kelly.
Yeah, just double jab to the overhand left at that point, and landed real clean and dropped Dan Kelly and just finished him up from there. Dan Kelly's a pretty old guy, bandaged up all over his knees. I mean, it's
perfect example of the dad bod.
Doesn't look very in shape, but he's a good fighter. He's a real good.
And only 2 losses.
Real good judoka, and beat Rashad Evans last fight, and
Chris Camozzi.
Rashad Evans hasn't looked that great as of late, but we'll see. We'll see what's next for him. He should be coming back. I think he's got a fight coming up sometime soon. We'll see where he goes from here. But the fight of the main event was the Mark Hunt versus Derek Lewis fight.
The Super Samoan versus the Black Beast. I love Mark Hunt. This dude is the man. I don't care if his record is almost 500. He is still the man. He's not had easy competition his whole career. But, I think there were a lot of people looking forward to this fight. I think everybody knew they were going to stand up and bang. I think most people were more interested in to see whether whose cardio is going to last longer. And, Mark Hunt lasted him out, and they were going back and forth. I mean, it was really, like they were saying during the commentary, Brian Stan, he's like, it's hard to judge because the whole time you're just waiting for that one knockout punch. It's just around the corner. You just don't know who or when it's going to land. You're just sitting there the whole time waiting for that knockout punch. But those dudes went back and forth, and, Derek Lewis, he just gassed out. I mean, when you put your hands on your hips in the middle of a fight, it's multiple times. Yeah, it's time. It's time to get back on the row machine, and it's time to get back on the treadmill, buddy.
Yeah, both the guys tipped the scale at 265.
They cut weight for heavyweight. That is insane.
It's kind of funny that this was the fight that actually went the longest on the entire card, which no one would have expected that. If anything, you would have thought this would probably be the quickest fight.
Right.
Crazy,
flash knockout.
Knockout artist guys. Both got some, pretty good chins, but still crazy knockout artist. Mark Hunt got a lot more experience as far as just he's been around a lot longer, seeing the who's who, his K1 days as well as, his fighting days and MMA. Derek Lewis, hasn't had as stiff a competition, but he's always game. Very funny, fun, entertaining heavyweight to watch. And came out, was throwing some wild front,
head kicks.
Yeah,
crazy
wild
head
switch kicks, wild, head kicks, and threw a bunch of them. I think that's what actually probably winded him and gassed him really heavy a lot of the point. Those in the knees he was throwing, they're trying to, jumping knees.
The flying knees, yeah.
But, they're big guys, and it is what it is. I think he could have conserved his energy a little bit, smarter. It was probably the game plan that, Mark Hunt kind of keeps his hands a little bit low and wanted to catch him with one of those head kicks. But, I think you got to set it up a little bit more than just constantly trying to throw, switch kicks as you're walking in. It's pretty impressive for, 265-plus-pound man
to
to
get your leg up
to
that
be
high.
throwing those. But I mean, you got to set him up or something, because Mark Hunt, that ain't gonna work with him. He's been there, done that. He's seen the who's who of striking, and that ain't gonna work with him.
Yeah, I thought Derek Lewis's striking actually looked much better than it has in the past. You can definitely tell that he's been in the gym, really getting it. As far as
working his cardio, man.
Yeah, right. As far as in the UFC, I mean, I think he probably has the least experience, as far as training and stuff like that goes. I mean, he openly admits, like in his last interview from his last fight, that he's not, the most technical fighter. He's just, he's a brawler. But I thought last night that you could definitely tell his striking has improved, and he's talking about retiring, getting married next month and retiring. But I'd really love to see him get back in the ring and keep practicing the craft, because I think he has the potential to be a serious contender.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't think he'll end up retiring for good
once he misses the money.
I think he just signed a new contract. I was talking about how he's one of the highest paid heavyweights, probably in the UFC now. So
how much is he getting? Do we know?
I don't know yet, but I'm sure he's getting paid, and he's making a lot of fight of the night bonuses, performance of the night bonuses. So he's been getting paid pretty well. And heavyweights always have a history of getting paid a little bit more, because there's a demand for heavyweights.
It's the draw.
But also, I saw someone, I forgot who it was, tweet out something about he's had, I think it was 11 fights in the last 39 months, something like that.
Jesus.
I mean, pretty much a little over the last 3 years, he's had about average 4 fights a year. No one, I mean, that's like Donald Cerrone, people, and this dude's a heavyweight. So this is, he's taking a beating on his body in training, beating on his body in his fights. A lot of his fights have been pretty quick fights. Some have not, though, and he's had, some KOs in those times, and knocked people out, gotten knocked out. He's had some rough wins or some rough losses, to Matt Mitrione and Sean Jordan. This one to Mark Hunt sucks, because he was climbing that way up to the title contention. Really, if he beat Mark Hunt, he was probably maybe one fight away, from
very close to a title
shot. Maybe one fight away. But I don't think he's going to stay retired. I think he's going to come back after,
spend too much money on his honeymoon.
Get a nice break, finally get some rest. And once he gets that itch again, he'll come back, and hopefully we'll see him versus another, stand-up guy. Because, when you get he's had a couple boring fights as well. Like the Roy Nelson one was kind of boring. And, people wanted to try to take him down and hold him down, because Derek Lewis got some power. So
yeah, I would be afraid of that man.
Not technical at all, but he just swings so hard and has so much power. It's crazy.
All it takes is that one clip.
Real big dude. But Mark Hunt, had the answer for him, and paced himself and took it into the 4th round and finished him there. And Derek Lewis looked real tired, from the get-go. He came out throwing those crazy kicks, the flying knees, and was pretty exhausted. I felt pretty early. He wasn't breathing that heavy going into the 2nd round. But as it progressed, it looked bad. It looked like someone who really was not in shape at all, cardio-wise, for this fight at least.
Yeah, no, Derek Lewis, Mark Hunt looked like a true veteran, last night. He really showed that he knew what he was doing in the octagon, and that everything, his patience is what won him that thing. He sat back. He didn't get too crazy, because he knows that, in the heavyweight division, all it takes is that one punch. So when he had him rocked a couple times, he didn't rush in. He stayed back, played it smart, and, got him the W.
Yeah, it was real smart, game plan from Mark Hunt. Also landed a bunch of shots to the body. Started doing that more so in the third round or so. Started going to the body.
That will really ruin your cardio right there.
Yeah, so that definitely took some out of Derek Lewis. But he did a real good effort of kind of keeping his distance as well. Lewis had the range on him, so he wanted to get in. As Derek Lewis is backing up against the cage, pretty much stayed against the cage the whole fight. trying to bait him in, but it just wasn't working with Mark Hunt. Mark Hunt knew what was going on.
Mark Hunt even told him that one time. He was like, "Come forward, come on, get out the cage."
It was a good fight, though. It was a very good
Great fight. Yeah, good night of fights, man. The whole card was actually pretty damn good.
Very entertaining
for especially for a free card.
Yeah,
I'll take it.
A free card with not a whole lot of huge names for the casual fans, but it was a very entertaining card, and hopefully we get more of these kind of cards where we can get some of these people's name out there and get a little more exposure to the casuals and see if we can build their name.
Oh yeah, good night. Good night.
I think that's about it. It's going to wrap this episode up. Just go ahead and follow us on Twitter at Fight U Podcast. That is Fight the letter U Podcast. And follow us, support the page on Patreon. That is patreon.com. Type in Fight University. You can find us there. Also follow us on YouTube as well, Fight University. Check us out. Episode 3 podcast, Fight University. We are out.
See ya.